Okay, Thursday afternoon, folks. Coming up in 15 minutes, 14 minutes or so. Actually, coming up in about 17 minutes, because there's a little bit of a video that I put together earlier, which I might just play first before the show. So probably starting at about 3 or 4 minutes past 7, folks, with Jane Finch on tonight, which should be very interesting, talking about this global Ponzi scheme, basically. So yeah, see you in a minute. I'll put this video on in a minute before the show, and then if you're watching an archive version, you might want to fast forward about 15 minutes. Otherwise, there's this video, there's a kind of a pre-thing that I'll put up in a minute. Let's have a good show, folks. God bless you. Please share. This bloke always sounds so depressed, but I do like this track. Copyright free, Facebook, copyright free. Float in your boat. Chris Linton, holding on. Yeah, that's what it's called. Should give him a credit, really, shouldn't I?
Fast forward a year or two.
Yeah, no Brexit there.
Change, so can you. So can you.
Yeah, we can change, Theresa May. We can do it.
For too long about the mistakes. While I resent, I learn to hate.
No.
Forgot your name.
Yeah.
Fear the struggle to follow on. Need to focus to prove you're wrong. I'm not wrong. I know why.
Do you really? I haven't got a clue. Haven't got a clue.
Holding on.
Hold on. What's that? Who's having a
I
chat?
know why. Holding on to this. Holding on. Don't let me repeat it. Don't let me repeat it.
Hold it. Let's try this. Let's see if this works.
On a lovely Thursday afternoon.
There we go.
Apart from the chemtrails, that is. You know, if you can hold on a sec. Let me see if I can turn this camera around. Oh, look at that. Well, I don't know how to use this thing. Can you see the chemtrails there? And over there, maybe you can work out, I don't know how good the picture is, that they're turning into cloud, dissipating. And there, it's kind of halfway, that one. You can see the I don't know if the sun's in the way, but you can see the clouds, the chemtrails rather, how they then dissipate into cloud. And I suspect there would be a bit of cloud today, maybe here where I am in Valencia, in Spain, right on the sea over there, yeah. I guess there might be a bit of cloud, but that isn't cloud, not up there. That's chemtrail. It's a beautiful day. I'm sorry, I don't want to make you envious or anything, but there's people sunbathing on the beach. But not me, huh? I'm just chained to my keyboard normally, so hey, don't, you know, it's not all just sun for me, honest gov. But I am very, very lucky, I have to say, I admit it. I know a lot of people, they think, oh, it's a bit weird, this guy fighting for Brexit when he lives in Spain. But the thing is, the Brexit is just one part of a much, much bigger war. Wherever you live, the war on the people by globalists. And it doesn't matter where you live on this planet, you are affected. Brexit is a very important part of this. And by the way, expats or migrants, yeah, because that's what I am. I'm a migrant. I'm a guest in a foreign country, a country foreign to my culture, but a very beautiful one. They got their problems, their share of problems, like for example that they're bankrupt, but they're good people. They do their best, all in all. Just got shitty politicians like the rest of us. So anyway, yeah, it really got me thinking last night, that show with Mark. With Mark, oh, it's the truth. Hold on a sec, who did I have on yesterday? Mark Steele. What an interesting conversation. What an interesting man he is. And I look forward very much to pursuing a lot of what he said, and I already have actually, in fact. I got bugger all sleep last night because I watched this documentary, which again PJ Tansley recommended that I watch. He's a good man, is that PJ? You're a good man, PJ. And it was called Singularity. It probably still is. And singularity is a very interesting phenomenon of progression, really, I suppose. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that now, but anyway, I didn't sleep much after watching that documentary. My head was going round and round in circles. Lots of learning going on over here. Anyway, so yeah, thank you, Mark Steele, for a very interesting perspective, which I've been wanting to explore for a long time. The thing is, as he pointed out, Brexit, in his estimation, is a distraction, an absolute distraction. And all these games that we're seeing, all this malarkey in the Parliament, is indicative of this plan to divide the hell out of us, to have us outwardly antagonistic with each other, as indeed we largely are on social media, whilst they do other things. And the big thing, the big rollout, Mark was explaining, is 5G, which, as he said, has got nothing to do with telecommunications at all, as is being sold to us, but that is actually an energy weapon. And this is all very, very whoa stuff. But, you know, I have to tell you that, yeah, we're run. I mean, this whole place, this whole world is run by psychopaths. We should know that. Who is the most powerful man in the world? I guess it's that Chinese bloke. He's a dictator. Another pretty powerful guy is that, what's his name? That bloke in Saudi Arabia. Isn't he a murderer? Isn't he? Seems to me he's a murderer. I don't know. Certainly lives in or rules over an extraordinarily misogynistic system. A system that hates people that don't comply with what they want. Gay people, women. I don't know. Anyway, very odd. These are the kind of people that we kowtow to. And of course the Soroses, the Blairs, on the telly all the time. Because obviously, you know, war criminals deserve airtime. Isn't that right, BBC News? Give airtime to war criminals. Yeah, right. Yeah, so we live in that kind of world where we are run by psychopaths with a whole bunch of jobs worths, understandably worried about the next pay packet, but nonetheless selling their souls to facilitate the whole circus, or bread and circuses. And so what Marx says, and also given this whole concept of singularity, which you might want to look into, where we get into a situation where our technology is so incredibly advanced that it's replicating itself at an exponential rate, to the point that, you know what, us humans, we're just no longer required. And we're getting there very, very fast. If you look at our progress since the Industrial Revolution, indeed, if you look at our progress since I don't know, the missing link, whatever happened there. That was an interesting chat with Piers the other night, or Piers Garnham. Anyway, if you consider all that, if you consider our growth rate, you consider how technology is advancing at this incredible rate. If you consider that it won't be long and you won't need farmers, particularly, you won't need haulage contractors as such. You'll just need robots. A few robots to look after a few people left behind or saved from the kind of tyranny that Mark Steele was talking about last night, using a high energy weapon to basically wipe us out. Once they've got it all positioned, he reckons, now I know this sounds extraordinary, yeah, and I don't entirely 100% buy into it, because I'm not a scientist to understand what he understands. He's an inventor, and he's worked with US, this, that, and the other militarily producing engineering weapons systems. And his speciality are frequencies and things like that, as I understand, yeah. I don't understand that kind of stuff. I'm not that bright. Engineering, but I do see that this whole Brexit charade does not make sense in terms of good politics, in terms of politics that's good for the national interest. The way that they're going about this whole assassination of Jeremy Corbyn by undermining him with this whole anti-Semitic charade, again, smokescreen. In this case, in my opinion, yeah, he doesn't like Israel. He probably read the Balfour Declaration. I don't know. But he doesn't like Israel. It's got nothing to do with the Jewish people. But nonetheless, that's being used because they want to undermine him, because he knows what the EU is and would get out of it. And now he's caved in, hasn't he? And he said, yeah, we got to stay in. We got to stay in, basically. That's what he's basically saying now. He's been gotten at. It looks as though Rees-Mogg and all that lot are happy now to Boris's to go along with Theresa's deal, bar a couple of fudges, doubtless, things that mean nothing, that still keep us in, and so on and so forth. And we are seeing blatantly democracy stolen from us by our own representatives and public servants.
Hello, sorry.
Hey, Jane, one sec.
And where do you think that's going to lead? Well, it's probably going to lead in some kind of civil unrest. All this is great if what Mark Steele says has any element of truth in it, then this actually does make sense. Because it's auto ab chaos, isn't it? It's auto ab chaos. It's order out of chaos. Or in this case, in I think Mark Steele's estimation, not wanting to put words into his mouth, a distraction whilst they prepare their super weapon on a mobile mast near you, or maybe just sat outside your property on a light or something like that. These things are being put in all over the place. I don't see them where I am, actually, I have to say, but apparently they're going in all over the place in the UK. And he reckons that it's going to be another 3 years before they finish their rollout of this 5G global network, as I understand it. Anyway, I'll look more at that, but I just thought I'd, express some feelings here, because I don't know what's going on, but I do, as I say, know we are run by psychopaths, this world. There's no question about it. We're not run by regular people at all. People that just want to get on with their neighbours and get on with their lives and raise their families. And these people aren't like that, are they? These people in power. They're telling us what to do all the time. They're telling us what to think. They're telling us how we must be with other people and what have you. They're telling us. That's not education, that's dictatorship. Anyway, right. Yeah, bit of a rant. But I just thought I'd do this because I came out for a wander and I saw I had my phone in my pocket and I thought, these things are on my mind. And I thought I'd mention some of them because this show is called Daily Brexit, isn't it? And I just wonder if I'm assisting the distraction by calling this Daily Brexit. And it's something that I've been wondering for a long, long time, but I've just been hoping, beyond hope, that we would see Brexit. I haven't believed since Theresa May was elected as leader that would be the case. An extension of Article 50 seemed to me, has always been the plan ever since she was elected. But I had kind of hoped that I was wrong. That Marty Kane, for example, was right. But it doesn't look that way, does it? Nope. She now has said, yeah, we'll extend A50. She said it. We'll put it to the vote. It's what they're going to do. It's what they want to do. We're morons in Parliament. They do not represent us. And you know what? I do not recognise this government. I do not recognise this Parliament. I do not recognise this House of Lords as being British, a British interest. They're not. They're a foreign interest. As a whole, and individually, absolutely chock-a-block with foreign agents. That's what it amounts to. or essentially just agents for their own pocket, i.e. fascists. They're not representative of me, and I do not recognise this government. This government is not following the mandate it was given by the British people that the Parliament had asked the British people to give. So anyway, I guess there you go. A bit more of a rant. Okay, great. Daily Brexit coming up. Yeah, let's have a good one. Ciao. How do you turn this thing off? There you go.
Hey folks, good evening, good people. Welcome to the Daily Brexit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination and exposing plutocracy and failing miserably. Oh. I'm Olly Connelly, thanks for turning up. And now, 5G. No, that was yesterday. I'm crying out loud. That was yesterday. Criminal cabal. Of bankers, by bankers, for bankers. Exposing financial corruption on a global scale, Goldnic Jane Finch joins me now. Look at that, I got my graphics all cocked up. Oh, so what? Taking your calls on UK national number, yeah, get this, yeah, new deal here, new deal. 033 000 11264. And we'll see you in the comments. I'll put that now, it's in the comments. Yeah, you can call on that. UK national number. It's actually my Skype number. If you've got Skype, you can just connect with me on Skype if you like. Olly Connelly. The guest is on Facebook tonight, so we can do that. We can do Skype, but only one call at a time. That's the only problem. Or you can do Discord, gov.ly/rant. Right, okay. Oh, blimey. Oh. Jane Finch, can you hear me?
Hello, how are
Hey,
you?
yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I'm very good indeed. How's life with you? You're in the UK, yeah? Whereabouts are you?
London.
Oh, right, okay. Ramoron Central. God bless it.
Yes, absolutely. I hate it.
Oh.
I have a Labour MP who wants the second vote. Oh my gosh.
Blimey, unbelievable. Yeah, I'll tell you what, there is a bit of good news in Westminster's covering it. UK MEPs given boxes to leave. British MEPs have been given boxes to move their stuff out of the European Parliament. Let's hope that they are packed up and on time. Yeah, no, that definitely deserves a bit of that and a bit of that. Hold on. Oh, no, sorry. Okay, so Finnish journalist Ailina Luutsentonen tweeted a photo of the EU Parliament branded cardboard boxed and said in the European Parliament the first moving boxes have already been introduced to British MEP offices. Offices in Brussels should be empty on the 22nd of March if the difference takes place on the 29th of March. I don't know that they'll know by the 22nd of March, will they? Aye. Unbelievable. Anyway, there you go. Look at that. Look, packing cases or whatever. She added the British MEPs are given a little extra time to clear their tables. The EU Parliament is told because of the uncertainty surrounding Brexit. Offices have to be empty for 1 week after the day off, the 5th of April. Everyone gets 15 moving boxes that are sent home. Let's hope those offices are soon empty, says Westminster. Jane, I'll tell you what, though. They, on the one hand, want to extend everything by hook or by crook. Article 50 extension or just, the May's deal, which is stay in or whatever. But on the other hand, what? We're not going to have any MEPs, so we're not going to have any representation. Is that the deal now? I don't know. I it's it's a charade, isn't it? It's a joke.
I think that's why the EU are so terrified of delaying Article 50, because they know full well that once past May, technically speaking, we should have elections for British MEPs. So, and they're in there for 5 years. They're not just, finished when we come out of the EU. They're still there for a full term.
Would that be the case? Would that be the case? Surely they'd have to go where we went.
There's now Brexiteers who are now, I think, trying to sue to make sure that if we're in the EU still after May, that, there are proper elections for MEPs, for British MEPs. So we'll see. Watch that space, right?
Blimey, I'll tell you. The papers today, predictably, were smearing Trump, all of them. Look at that. Telegraph, Trump's a racist, a con man and a cheat. This guy, on the other hand, is just about to go to prison in about 2 months' time for lying to Congress. Cohen, he's the guy that truth about Trump. You see, the thing is, what people see is they see this. This is the way the media works. It's this kind of hypodermic needle effect where they've got these headlines saying, basically Trump's a crook or whatever. But actually, it's an allegation from somebody who is a crook. But you don't see that in the headline. There you go. And obviously, Corbyn's lost another one because everybody wants to undermine him because he is anti-EU, it seems to me. I don't know, Jane, am I wrong?
No, I truly believe he's a Eurosceptic. He has been for the last 30 years.
But do you think
that's his problem?
Do you think, though, that's
his
the
problem,
reason?
Because his party is Remain.
Yeah. I mean, I can't help but think this whole anti-Semitic thing, which I know is a very sensitive issue for a lot of people, and I've got some
it's a red herring.
Some connections with it as well, by the way, in my family with the Jewish community. But the fact is that it isn't about the Jews, is it? It's a different thing. No, and the bottom line is that they do not want him in power because he is he's a Brexiteer.
Yeah, and he's a socialist, which means that capitalists would then lose profit.
Yeah, it is a big, big fight between the Blairites and old Labour. Is another side to it. No, ever since they got rid of Clause 4 and the Blairites basically moved in, I mean, were they not really Liberal Democrats all along, the Blairites? Anyway.
Or ex-Tories, some of them.
They've got their chuck-up party. I realise that different people have some very inflamed views about what I was just talking about, but I really do think that this anti-Semitic thing is a smokescreen. Agriculture, now this is the big story of the day, I guess. Agriculture Minister resigns in protest against Brexit delay. And again, this is Westminster's take. Minister George Eustace has just resigned from the government in protest against a possible delay to Brexit, hitting out at the decision to allow the postponement of our exit from the EU. Looks like the MP is as disgusted with a potential delay beyond the 29th of March as millions are across the country. In a letter to Theresa May, he said, "I fear developments this week will lead to a sequence of events culminating in EU dictating terms of any extension requested and final humiliation for our country." Well, again, Jane, I mean, it's just cold, hard logic. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, they were all elected on a manifesto that said they would respect the referendum result. And now, I mean, look at it. They're they're falling like flies because they're going against the people. And so I can't imagine how many emails they've had calling them traitors. Honestly, every single one of them, virtually.
No, completely. He goes on. He points out, let me just get this right. Okay, if the position of Parliament is that we will refuse to leave without an agreement, then we are somewhat stuck. I think that's British understatement, isn't it, as well? He also points out that the EU Commission has not behaved honourably during the negotiations. He's called for a braver approach. Particularly on a note, it's just, I mean, it's so obvious.
Has either side behaved honourably? I don't think so. Neither one of them have.
No, they haven't.
Or
They've neither of them behaved honourably. The EU have been bullying us, and the British government has been working as a foreign agent.
yeah.
And on another note, and another Westminster story actually, Leave Means Leave announce Sunderland to London pro-Brexit march. The pro-Brexit group Leave Means Leave have announced that they will be organising a march from Sunderland to London. The march will begin in Sunderland on the 16th of March, with Nigel Farage announcing that he will be there on the day. Others in the launch video include Leave Means Leave's pro-Brexit businessman Richard Tice and John Longworth, along with Tory Brexiteer and former Cabinet Minister Esther McVey. On their website, they explain that it is now clear that... Anyway, they're basically going to march all the way down England to Westminster over the course of about 13 days or so. And you can march with them the whole way, or you can do a stage or whatever if you want to get involved with that. And I put a post up on my profile earlier, and I've actually applied to them to march the whole distance myself with my camera, with my phone or whatever, to do rolling coverage, daily Brexit of the march. I thought it would be quite a laugh. Excellent. And really cool. So anyway, I don't know what they're going to say about that, but anyway, I'll have a go. Meanwhile, just a couple of other things. It looks as though, what's his name, Trudeau's really having some problems now in Canada, and we don't get this kind of coverage much in the UK press, do we? So I thought I'd just mention alleged threats, bribes, prostitutes, growing scandal threatens to bring down Canada's Trudeau. Former Canadian Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould gave a bombshell testimony accusing Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and other officials of veiled threats to force her to drop a case for political purposes, and that is affecting his re-election chances in a few months' time, as I understand it. And meanwhile, Netanyahu, another leader having a problem, to be charged with bribery, pending hearing. Attorney General also intends to indict Netanyahu for breach of trust in 2 other cases. Decision comes a month and a half before the election. They've all got their hands in the till. I'm not saying that he has necessarily, but they do all seem to have their hands in the till now, Jane. And actually, really, that's, I guess, the theme of our show tonight, my dear.
Yep. Political puppets for the bankers.
Okay. All right. Okay, fine. Well, we were going to start, I think, maybe with looking at the links between global financial corruption and EU leaders. And I guess I could start by asking you about a certain Jean-Claude Juncker, who is... now, it seems to me that this guy is the classic fascist, because he was busily setting up tax havens for big corporates in Luxembourg as PM there. That seemed to be the thing he shoved on his CV before he became the kind of leader of Europe or whatever.
Well, do you want to know something? Before he was Prime Minister of Luxembourg, he was actually an ex-governor of the World Bank.
Right. Okay.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Right.
But does that make him a bad person?
No, not necessarily. No, it doesn't necessarily make him a bad person as such. It just means that he's working to an agenda along with many other politicians. So, for example, you've already mentioned Theresa May, or Treason May as I call her. She's an ex-Bank of England employee. Sajid Javid is ex-Deutsche Bank. As we all know, Emmanuel Macron is ex-Rothschild banker, literally. And unfortunately, as much as I hate saying this, so is Jacob Rees-Mogg. Who else is there? Oh, yeah.
Well, Jacob Rees-Mogg is another moron now, isn't he? I mean, he's just said, yeah, that's fine, Theresa, we'll go with your deal.
Well,
pretty
hold
much.
on a minute, right? Because the thing is, in today's papers, they also revealed that Bill Cash and Rees-Mogg and several others are now employing lawyers to look at Theresa May's deal to make sure that it is actually a legitimate leave deal with the Irish red herring backstop being able to, stop when it's supposed to.
It's absolutely nuts, isn't it? It is completely nuts. Deutsche Bank is going to go down soon, isn't it? How do they?
It's on its knees.
How do they keep these financial institutions? How do they keep spinning the plates? How on earth, since 2008, have we averted a global financial disaster?
Quantitative easing. Simple as that. They printed money and the bankers got it rather than businesses and individuals. And, as you know, taxpayers bailed them out. And pretty much that is what's keeping them up at the moment. But not for too long. Not for too long.
It does appear, though, that since Trump has been playing around with trade policies, the markets have solidified stateside. The Dow, what have you, well, all of them. And despite China being a significant risk, it hasn't tumbled yet. The euro just keeps
hang on,
along.
Because they just printed a whole load of new quantitative easing just before Christmas.
Who did?
To hold them up.
Who?
China.
Yeah, that's what they did. So how close is China to the edge?
Well, if they'd not printed a whole load of new money, they're very close to the edge. I personally think that Europe will be the first to go, to fall.
Wow.
And then, of course, that will have the knock-on effect to everybody else.
Place your bets.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Why do you think that Europe will be the first one to go?
Right, okay. So on the 31st of March...
Hold on a sec. Okay, you trade gold, don't you? You buy and sell
yes,
gold?
Yes, I buy gold, yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's how you're versed in all this.
Well, I've just done my research like everybody else, Ollie. Do you know what I mean? So when I first woke up in early 2016, I researched just like everybody else and went, okay, what on earth is going on in the world here? Because something's not quite right. And then it was late 2017 and I was thinking, I'm being distracted from something. What am I not seeing? So I decided to go and investigate, a bit deeper. And I'd worked in the property industry during the last crash. I worked at the relocation industry. So our industry was affected massively by the knock-on of the property crisis. So that already gave me some kind of an idea. I understood about the LIBOR and the derivatives markets and how the banks had basically repackaged toxic debt and sold it on and then relent, money that they didn't have. So I already had a focus and a basis for my research, if you see what I mean. And then I started to look a bit deeper, and I started to. It's very boring, actually. I'm sorry to say. No. I started reading the IMF website, looking at the Bank of England website. What they were saying.
That is boring. Yeah, you're right.
It is really boring, but you know what? It's very revealing as well.
Yeah, right.
So basically, there's something called the banking regulations. Basel III, so from Switzerland, and it was launched in 2009 to basically stabilize the banks. So the banks had to have a certain amount of money, or what's called liquidity, to make sure that they never fell at such a pace again, right?
Yeah, basically,
now,
so that you don't get a run on the banks.
That's right. So, well, hang on a minute, because that's a bit different. So basically, that if there's a crash, that they would have enough cash to make sure that they could supply it, and that there wasn't so much of a stress on a bankrupt bank, right?
Yes.
Now, the Basel III regulations come into force on the 31st of March this year, and
the what? The Basel? The what?
It's called the Basel III, so BASEL. Basel.
As in the place in Switzerland, or?
That's right, in Switzerland. That's right. So that comes into force on the 31st of March, and basically the economists are saying how they're concerned that Deutsche Bank may not qualify because of the situation that it's in at the moment. And Deutsche Bank is currently trying to merge with Germany's next top bank called Commerzbank.
Yeah, blimey.
And they've been talking
Huge.
about that for about 6 or 8 months or so. So that's where that Germany is at the moment.
Now, Deutsche Bank has about, as I understand it, exposure equivalent to something like 2/3 of the global GDP. Is that accurate?
Well, I don't know the figures of Deutsche Bank. All I know is what the economists who are obviously looking at. I mean, I've got to say that I'm not a financial expert, so all I can tell you is the research and what the information that I've found so far. So I do know that Deutsche Bank is obviously one of the biggest banks in the world, and they are in serious trouble. Now, that's on the 31st of March, but was revealed to me a couple of weeks ago. The Italian banks, as we all know, were in trouble, in major trouble during the last financial crash, and they were bailed out by a 10-year government bond. Now, that government bond expires on the 27th of May this year.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
As soon as that?
And that information has been given to me by somebody quite high up in the accounts department at one of the political parties, and basically so he sees all the data and information that the public aren't allowed to see, and basically
so you think the Italian banks are going to start the domino effect?
Very possibly, and the rumour is that they've been transferring their money into Switzerland because they know they're going to fall.
Have they now? Right.
Yes.
Yeah. They did lose that very old, prestigious Italian bank about 3 years ago or so, didn't they, already?
Yeah.
But, okay, so this is a huge merger between Deutsche Bank and Commerzbank. How do they, I mean, they are going to go down big time off the back of Italy going down or whatever, and a domino effect that involves Greece. I mean, and then it's going to be way, way, way bigger than that. I don't know. Can they keep spinning the plates?
Right. Well, this is what I wanted to talk about, because everybody needs to wake up to this information. Okay, so let me just give you a bit of background information to why we're in the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
So prior to 2000, so as you know, the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, right? And just after the Second World War, there was something called the Bretton Woods Agreement, where after the alliance won the war, they all agreed to peg their currencies to the US dollar, and obviously have the US dollar as the currency that was used for international transactions, right? Now, that Bretton Woods Agreement was then if you like, paused in 1971. And President Richard Nixon, he unlinked the US dollar from the gold standard. So prior to 1971...
Now, hold on a sec. Wasn't that reversing a JFK executive order or something? I thought it was Johnson that did it as well, but...
No, it was President Richard Nixon. I think what had happened is that as far as I'm aware, JFK tried to bring the Fed into public ownership rather than it being a private bank. And obviously, you know the history, right? He was knocked off.
Yeah.
So what happened is, prior to 1971, you could exchange a dollar for the equivalent of gold.
Right.
And so after 1971, when it was completely unlinked from the gold standard, money became a piece of paper with no back it. That's right. It's called a fiat currency.
In other words, it's basically worth paper, basically worth confidence, really.
That's right. It's worth the confidence that the general public have in the money supply.
Okay.
And the government.
Hold that train of thought, please. I want to take a few comments because there's a good few coming in. God bless you. And David Laddie says, German banks are in the SH1T. Stavros, London gold fix run by the biz artificially suppressed every day by dumping paper sell orders by the billions. Aj and Tyler, look at the statement. On any banknote under Bank of England, payment is never made, debts are handed on. Do you know what he means by that, Jane?
Yes, a money note is a promissory note.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look on a £5 or £10 note or a £50 note, it says that the Bank of England promises to pay the bearer
Mm-hmm.
and then the amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And what that basically means is that they promise to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So they've not actually paid, it's just a promise.
Most banks live off our mortgage money. It's all false economy, says Dave Jenkins. Veronica Knight, everyone should read the Georgia Guidestones. I never anticipated it so soon, though, all because they didn't get a World War III. Georgia Guidestones are a very fascinating anomaly indeed. Amanda Rolfson says, what I have always wondered is how is it the banks have been allowed to put so much interest in mortgages and loans? Why have the governments allowed them to get away with it for all these years? Jane, do you have a take on that? And
Right.
I could widen it up slightly and say, why is the Fed Reserve about as federal as Federal Express is a private company? Why on earth? And as I understand it, it's not a dissimilar deal with the Bank of England. Why are these private companies effectively, as opposed to being owned by their respective populations that then can set their own interest rate and not be ripped off?
Right. Well, you're right at the crux of it, because basically President Woodrow Wilson signed into being the Federal Reserve in 1913.
On Christmas Eve.
Sorry?
On Christmas Eve.
Yes, that's
when everybody
right.
had gone
to
off.
hide it from everybody.
Yeah, on Christmas Eve, when everybody had gone off on their Christmas holidays and there wasn't anybody voting or something.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And the media wasn't covering it.
And of course, we all know who the private bankers are, right? They're the Wahlbergs, the Rothschild, the Rockefellers, you name it. They've got their sticky hands in it all behind the scenes. And so basically, one of the comments, the last comment that you read out, and I forget what it was, but I think they were talking about mortgages and interest.
That's right, exactly. So, yeah. Why do we put up with so much interest in mortgages and loans?
Well, this is the thing, Ollie, because this is why, we've called the show Criminal Cabal, because it is an agreement between multiple global governments and central banks to allow this system to continue. And basically, the main research that anybody should do is on fractional reserve banking. Now, what fractional reserve banking is, after 1971, when money came off the gold standard, what that meant is that banks could lend as much money as they wanted. They had no ceiling. So prior to 1971, they could only lend the amount of money that the bank had in gold. Right? So if they had, say, $10 billion in gold, they could only lend $10 billion.
Yep.
But as soon as the gold standard was scrapped in 1971, the banks could lend as much money as they wanted. So what that meant is that they then, for example, for every £1,000 that the bank has in its vault, they can lend 9,000 that doesn't exist. Right? So every £1,000 that they have in cash, they lend 9,000 that just is not there.
So it just comes out of thin air, basically. They say, yes, we got somebody who wants a loan of $1,000, and so we'll give them 10 and make up another 90 sort of thing percent.
Yeah, it's fraud.
Yeah.
The whole thing is based on fraud.
And what happens there is you're pumping debt into the economy, aren't you? What's the effect of that?
Well, That's the thing. Our economy is completely based on debt now. The total world debt is $250 trillion, right? That's a staggering amount. Now get this. The whole world's total turnover in GDP is only 80 trillion.
Really?
So that means that that's over 3 times the amount of turnover.
That's definite bankruptcy,
that is
isn't it? We're bankrupt.
The whole world is bankrupt.
We're a bankrupt planet. Welcome to planet Earth. Okay,
this is why I wanted to talk on your show, because people need to know this.
So this is called fractional reserve banking, and basically what happens is that a bank, they got a customer comes in and says, "I want a mortgage for 100 grand or something," and they only have to produce 10 grand of that, the bank, and the rest they can literally get out of thin air. How on earth can they just get that out of thin air? That sounds fantastical.
Yeah, because it's all digits on a screen. All they have to do is say, right, we're going to transfer 100 million or 100,000 to person A, and they just enter digits on a screen, and that's it. There is no physical entity that they have to literally lend, even though there's cash in the economy.
Yep.
You know, when you go to the ATM, you take out money and you think, right, okay, no problem.
Yeah,
but you know,
as you
like
say, it's just paper money, isn't it? It's not. You can't transfer it for gold. That's the point.
Yeah.
You can't transfer it for anything
Not in a bank.
of intrinsic value.
Yeah, not in a bank. So basically,
not in a bank. So not from its source. Not
right.
From where it ultimately must go back, because I promised to pay the bearer.
That's right. It's just a promise.
Okay, so that's a bit crap for a start. But then it got worse, didn't it? With what? Glass-Steagall.
Yep.
Was that the next big thing to fall? We get the Fed.
That's right. So in the 1990s, President Clinton, he then scrapped the Glass-Steagall, which is created the merger between the retail banks and the commercial lending banks. The retail lending banks.
Yeah,
and the
like for your domestic banking.
That's right.
And the investment banks. No.
That's right.
So hold on a sec. What do you mean? Sorry. That act had been enacted many years before, hadn't it? And he repealed it. What it was a protection, wasn't it? So I'm sorry. It's separated. Go on, please.
So basically the investment banks, they literally bet money, right? So they bet the stocks and shares, they bet that house prices are going to go up, house prices are going to go down, you name it.
It's a casino.
Bet people's money. Yeah, exactly. And prior to the Glass-Steagall Act, the retail banks, which was the normal lending bank, were separate. So it kept the credit lent.
Hold on, Jane. Hold on. You're moving away from your phone.
Oh, I'm still here. Can you
hear
me?
There you go. That's better. Okay, so sorry. Go on. Say that again. That last bit.
So the investment banks, the casino banks, they were separate from the normal domestic retail banks.
Right.
And then when the Glass-Steagall was repealed, they merged them. So basically, the money that was being lent by the normal domestic retail banks was then played on the stock market by the investment bankers.
Right. So in other words, people that had their pension in their bank or something like that, or their savings plan, or just their paycheck going in, that was in a bank on the high street. And then you've got these big banks, these sort of merchant banks, these investment banks, these casino banks in the city or whatever, and they were separated. And then all of a sudden, the merchant banks were allowed to ally with the domestic banks if they weren't already allied, and take that money
and play with your money. Yeah.
And okay, fine. So, well, it's all right, isn't it? I mean, the domestic banks are all there, apart from, I don't know, Northern Rock and RBS nearly went down, I suppose. I don't know. You tell me. What's the problem with that, really?
Right. Well,
What has been the practical problem with that, rather?
They're playing with money that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
right?
That's right, of course.
So the Bank of England, the Bank of England revealed less than a month ago. I watched the video a couple of weeks back, and they revealed that in the UK economy there is 70 billion in physical cash circulating in the economy. Right, 70 billion in physical cash.
Right.
But the UK GDP is 2.1 trillion. Where's the rest of the money? We're in debt of 1.8 trillion as a country, mostly through government lending and commercial lending and things like that. But where's the rest of the cash? If everybody in the UK went to their bank and took out money, there would only be 70 billion that they could take out.
Hence,
physical cash.
Hence, the reason that we can say that we live in a debt-based society in a debt-based financial system on a global scale, and that effectively is what you would call a Ponzi scheme, isn't it? Because if people try to take their money out, well, then you've got the run on the banks. There is not the physical resource in the vaults to sustain that. So it is just basically propped up on a lot of hot air and nonsense.
Right. So this brings us, funnily enough, back to Brexit.
We're sensible people, aren't we? Go on, carry on, please.
So this brings us back to Brexit, right?
Okay.
Why is Brexit such a threat to the EU? Right? And it's not just about the money.
Hold on. You keep walking away from your phone or something. Why is it's all right? Why is Brexit such a threat to?
Right, because what the bankers...
No. Go on. You were saying Brexit is such a threat to the EU. The EU wasn't heard because you walked away from your phone, faded out. But why is Brexit such a threat to the EU in terms of this financial deal?
Right. So the bankers are at the top of the tree, right, or the top of the pyramid, I should say, and they've been amalgamating country economies together. Okay, so where we believe that, oh yes, they're there for the people, and they do deals with the phone companies so that we get no charges on mobile data and all sorts of stuff.
Roaming
they're
stuff,
happy that February
1 month into railing for free if you're about 18 and libtarded or something. Carry on.
So basically, because there's an agenda behind it, the central bankers have been amalgamating the assets and the economies and the
What are you doing? Are you in a bush or something?
No, I'm right here. Can you not hear me?
Yeah, no, you keep fading out. It keeps sounding as though, I don't know, you're wandering off, Jane. I know you're not.
I'm right here.
I'm sorry. I so want you to be heard because anyway, say that again, please.
So the bankers have been amalgamating the economy together. So basically, they have more control over interest rate changes and the policy changes and things like that obviously affect how much money they make and how much money we make.
Right. Oh, your audio is dreadful.
Oh. Should I call you back?
Yeah, no, look, I'll tell you what, I'll call you. If you don't get a call from me within about a minute, then give us a shout, Jane. But I'll try calling you now because I want you to be heard. I want you to be heard. All right, darling. I'll give you a shout straight back. Oh, dear. I'll tell you what, you can't get the guests, can you? You can't get the guests. And by the way, I've noticed, nobody's on Discord again. I'm just going to give up with Discord. It's just, people just hate it. And I don't blame them. I really don't blame them. Now, hold on a sec. How do I do this? Oh, she's called me. Here we go. Jane. Oh. Now then, hold on a sec. Yep. Jane.
Hello. Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, hold on a sec. Let me just... Yeah, there you go. That's it. Yes. Good. Right. So... Okay, so what we've got with the EU is we've got an amalgamation of national currencies and
Economies. National economies.
And the relevance being?
Well, the relevance being is that one central bank, other than the Bank of England, so the ECB, the European Central Bank, now controls the whole of the European economy. Not just like the Italian bank or the French central bank or Germany's central bank. One central bank for 520 million people.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't necessarily be a problem in itself, would it? It's that the peoples of these various countries don't want political integration.
Right, well, that's right. But also what's happened is, of course, as we know, is that Germany's economy was more stable than, for example, Romania's or Italy's or Greece. And the euro was pegged on the level of the Deutschmark when they created it 20 years ago.
Yes.
So what it's enabled the banking industry to do is basically control that flow of finance through just a few central banks and national banks to the tune of $12 trillion last year. 12 trillion pounds, so 15 trillion euros went through European banks last year.
Right. Okay. But the real problem, surely, is the disparity of how the euro affects your economy. No. So, for example, it has benefited Germany, all in all, but it has not benefited the PIGS, PIIGS, Portugal, Italy, Ireland, the others, Greece, Spain. No?
Yeah,
who've got more unemployment and all the rest of it. Their economies are suffering under a strong euro, as opposed to the northern countries enjoying a relatively less strong euro. No,
right.
Easier for export.
It's socialism. So what they've done is they've brought down the economies of the bigger countries and brought up the economies of the smaller countries or less wealthy countries like Romania, Bulgaria, Poland to an extent. So what they've done, hence why we've seen our industries from the UK, banished over to Eastern Europe. And an influx of Eastern Europeans and Southern Europeans to the UK, because basically they're now going where the money is, but our industries are going where it's cheaper, labour, overheads, rent, mortgage, you name it. It's cheaper in the Eastern bloc countries. So what's happening is the EU and the UN are trying to flatten out the economies of all the different countries. So they're bringing up the economies of poorer countries and lowering the economies of richer countries like the UK.
And you're saying really they're concentrating on the Slavic type countries, old Iron Curtain type places, and these, if you like, Southern Mediterranean countries, are they the big losers? Or I don't know. I mean, there's a huge amount of unemployment. I know that.
Yeah. Because their economies have gone overseas as well, because basically, as if you think of yourself as a business person, and that, or you have an international company, right, and that you can lower your overheads and increase your profit by just moving your head office or your manufacturing branch to another country that's much cheaper.
Sure.
Then it's a no-brainer for business people.
But why? But what's that got to do though with the corruption and this deregulation that we've seen?
The deregulation of what? Sorry.
Well, I mean, Glass-Steagall, fiat currencies.
Right, because basically it's allowed the central bankers with the protection of global governments to lend more to governments, to allow people to borrow
Yes,
more, which
absolutely.
increases the economy.
Greece was a very good example of that, wasn't it? I mean, Greece was absolutely overladen with debt, and guess what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the thing is that if you think about it, right? So if 90% of money is nothing, right? It's a digit on a screen, then basically every loan that a bank makes is near enough fraud. It's fraud. So if you think about a mortgage, right? A mortgage is given over 25, 30 years for somebody to pay it back.
They're making it longer now as well, aren't they? Some of them, a lot of these
That's
lenders. Anyway, carry on. More interest.
Right.
Go on.
Right. So if you think about a 25-year period, how many recessions are you likely to have? Right, maybe two, possibly three recessions.
Yeah.
Right. So if the banks lend nothing, but the person who takes out the mortgage thinks that they've been lent money to buy a property, and then a recession hits, and the person then loses their job, or they can't afford to pay their mortgage anymore, the bank comes in and sweeps up and repossesses the physical asset that they didn't lend any money on to start with.
Right.
Did you understand that?
No, I don't understand much of it, to be honest with you, Jane.
All right. I tell you what, right?
Go on.
So say for example, right? You say to me that you're going to lend me £1,000, right? But you don't have £1,000 to lend.
Right.
Okay. But I think that you have £1,000 to lend me. So I go, oh great, I'm going to get that. I'm going to have £1,000 and I'm going to go and buy a car, right? Now I go and buy the car with the £1,000 that I think you lent me. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And then when I can't afford the car repayments anymore,
Default.
You, Mr. Banker, come along and say you stopped paying on your car repayments. Therefore, I'm going to repossess your car. So you lent me nothing, but now you have my car. Right?
Yes.
That's fraud.
Yeah, no, it is, isn't it? No, completely. Because basically you took a loan from the bank of like a tenner, and they propped it up with 90 quid that they took out of nothing, and then they want it back, and they've got you paying it back. Okay, I'm with you. But, and that's going on a national scale.
On an international scale.
On an international scale. International.
This is global fraud, covered up and protected by the bankers. And all these wars that we're seeing, Libya, Iraq, Syria, you name it, Venezuela, it's all to protect the fiat currency fraud. Because Libya, Mohammed, what's his name, Gaddafi, he wanted to create a gold-backed standard across Africa.
That's right.
Saddam Hussein.
And he didn't have a central bank, did he? A private Rothschild central bank, did he?
Absolutely.
Go on. Sorry, go on.
Right. Saddam Hussein, he started selling the petrol and diesel the oil in the euro. So he was going away from the US dollar. Right. Iran is trying to go away from the US dollar to sell their oil. Russia is accumulating gold on a massive scale. Because they know that the U.S. Federal Reserve, the U.S. Reserve currency is about to fall, because our global economy is backed up by debt, unsustainable debt that can never possibly be paid back.
Wasn't there that guy? Was it Michael Chertoff or somebody wrote a report saying we've got to go to war with, I think, what was it, 5 countries or something in the Bush senior administration, maybe it was something like that.
General Wellesley revealed that they were going for 7 countries.
7 countries.
Iraq. 7. It was Iran, Iraq, Libya, Lebanon. Although they haven't gone after Lebanon, they went after Yemen instead. Sudan and Syria. And I forget the last one, but there's a famous video on YouTube. Look up General Wellesley PNAC. It was called the Project for a New American Century, the neocons in the American government.
Yeah, that's right. That was George Herbert Walker Bush, wasn't it? Dearly beloved.
That's right.
Who
John
sadly
Bolton, President
died.
Trump's national security advisor.
Go on.
John McCain.
Could you get how the media were all like, oh, George Herbert Walker Bush was such a statesman. He was a nasty piece of work, wasn't he?
Do you know that in America the bank shut down on George Bush's the day of his funeral?
But the bank shut down, what, out of respect?
Right. They said it was for the respect, but in December, the US stock market was in free fall.
Yeah,
so what the banks did is they declared that they were going to have a day of respect, and they all shut down to halt the free fall in the stock market. Yeah.
Blimey. Yeah, okay. So, how's Trump? I mean, does it surprise you that with what he's done with trade, there was a bit of a lifeline for the Dow, which did look as though it was just going to go completely off the rails at about the time he took over the White House, no?
Yeah.
Do you think it's just down to the trade? Do you think that he'll continue to, or do you think they're just waiting for a time to crash it, or what?
Right. Well, the interest rates in America stayed pretty static from 2009 to 2015, and that's when the central bank started to put the interest rates up. And then once Trump was elected, they put the interest rates up about 6 or 7 times. I forget how many times it went up, but virtually every quarter they put the interest rates up. Now, to explain how that affects things, basically when a central bank like the Bank of England or the Federal Reserve puts up interest rates, what that does is it has a knock-on effect. So it makes mortgage payments and loan repayments more expensive. So it then makes and government borrowing more expensive to pay back, right? So what that then does is it squeezes the economy as people have less money in their pockets. And so when the central banks increase interest rates to a point where people just don't have money to spend anymore because they can't afford to pay their own bills, let alone have additional, money for luxuries, that's when the economy start to, start having cracks in them, if you like. So, for example, people start defaulting on their mortgage repayments, and then of course a couple of few months later banks start collecting all of those physical properties, those physical assets that they then lent nothing on.
Yes.
So this is why
they lent 10% on. That's
right. So, and of course the thing is, if you think about this, right, it is
disgusting, isn't it? It is absolutely disgusting, and surely it is just leading to a nightmare scenario where it is a Ponzi scheme. I don't know. I just don't know how they can keep it going. But look, Jane, if you want to comment on that, you can, please. I'm going to take a few comments, and then I think I'm going to ask you a bit about 10 minutes left, folks. A bit about the difference between gold and silver and Bitcoin or whatever, and what do you go for? Or I don't know, buy some. Toothpicks or something. Amanda Rolfson says they've been doing for years. In fact, we do not have anything left that is British. Not really. John Middleton, barter to consume. Yvonne Taylor, global fraud fact. Christopher Michael Baxter, and it is good to see you, sir, around and about. I know you've not been very well, and God bless you. God bless you, mate. I hope you're doing a bit better. Governments and central banks like there to be just enough growth in an economy, not too much that could lead to inflation getting out of control, but not so little that there is stagnation. Their aim is the so-called Goldilocks economy. Not too hot, not too cold. One of the main tools they have to control growth is raising or lowering interest rates. Lowering interest rates encourage people or companies to spend money rather than to save. but when interest rates are almost zero, central banks need to adopt different tactics, such as pumping money directly into the financial system. The process is known as quantitative easing, or QE. Yeah, sure. Okay. So that is, I suppose, the time bomb, Jane. Do we have savings? Right. What about for our pensions? Are our pensions safe? I mean, if we don't have like the sort of problems that Mark Steele was talking about last night, intervening in the meantime and knocking us all out with 5G, then presumably we're going to need a pension. And the question is, are we actually going to have pension plans?
Right. Well, here's the thing, right? So since 1971, currency as we know it has been devaluing. So basically, if you had £100,000 in 1970 and you kept it in a safe until today, that 100,000 would be worth approximately 16,000 only. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had invested that same 100,000 in 1970 into gold, it would today be worth approximately 4 million.
Really? Wow.
Right. So here's the wake-up call for people. Our money, our fiat money, paper money, is literally worth nothing. So people are putting their money into pension schemes, stocks and shares, saving it in a bank account that doesn't even earn them any interest anymore, and yet they are, it's devaluing. If you left your money in there for 10 years, you would have less money after 10 years than you would have today. But if you bought gold today, it would be worth more in 10 years' time. Now, the thing is that when this next financial crash comes, Ollie, and it's coming soon, right? Every single economist...
We have been saying this for years, but I mean, you would think logically it would be coming soon, but you would have thought that for a while, no? Sorry, just as an aside.
Yeah, well, I mean, once I start to realise what the banks were doing, and I realised that, you know, it's been 10 years now since the last one.
That's right. Lehman Brothers.
And we're due.
Yeah.
Right, we're due.
We're due. That's right. It's like earthquakes or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, in 2000, the global debt was about 80 odd trillion. By 2008, the global debt was 173 trillion. Now it's 250 trillion. So, bearing in mind that in the meantime, fiat money is going down in value, but assets are going up in value. So what I would suggest to everybody is start thinking about this and do your own research. You know, everything I've said can be researched, backed up, you name it. Look on the IMF website, look on the World Bank and the Bank of England's website. It's all there for people to find out. There's a fantastic economist who is American, so obviously you do get it from her point of view, but it's called ITM Trading. It's Lynette Zhang at ITM Trading, and she talks about the fiat currency and the gold prices going up and things like that, whereas normal mainstream economists, you know, like on Bloomberg or, you know, Financial Times or whatever, they don't really talk about fiat at all. They just talk dollars and euros and you know, they never mention the word fiat.
No, so I bet they don't.
Yeah.
Matt Kaiser, he's quite good value, isn't he? He's always going on about Bitcoin. He's always going on about Bitcoin. But have people missed the boat with that, or are there different cryptocurrencies that maybe... I don't know. I haven't got any of this stuff personally, but I mean, what's the difference between, say, going for crypto or going for gold or silver? At least silver's got a medicinal benefit, isn't it, as well? It's not just going to sit in your, you know, in your larder until somebody nicks it or something. I don't know. What is the difference in terms of an investment?
Okay, so the price of gold in 2005 was $300 an ounce. Right? In 2011, the price of gold per ounce was at $1,900. Yeah. So while everybody...
That Gordon Brown, he was a git, wasn't he? That Gordon Brown, just as an aside.
So much for a great Chancellor of the Exchequer.
What an idiot.
Sold our gold off at the cheapest
price. What an
price,
idiot,
right?
mate. God, useless.
So basically,
useless.
what that means is that once a recession hits, the price of gold and silver will skyrocket. Whereas right now, when that happens, your paper money will devalue incredibly. So when you were talking about cryptos, right?
Yeah.
So Bitcoin started 10 years ago. As an idea.
Is it only 10 years? Is that only 10 years? My word. Okay.
10 years ago, right? 2009. It was started because of the problems in the financial industry, and some whiz guy, I believe he was Japanese. He started what's called a blockchain.
Yeah.
Now, blockchain technology is simply an accounting ledger. So it just shows that transaction has been done, and that transaction has been done, and that transaction has been done, and it's open source, so it means that anybody can go and look at the blockchain and see where say for example 100 Bitcoin, it went from here to here to here, and you can follow the transactions that particular amount of Bitcoin did, right?
Yeah.
Now that technology apparently is so revolutionary that they can now even, like our mobile phones, it's called voice over IP.
Yep.
So when we talk from
like
me
Skype
and you, that's right, we're talking over voice over IP. They can now make mobile phones to enable it to speak over to be voice over blockchain.
Oh, really?
This
over
is how
blockchain. Right.
Right.
So what's the point of that?
Revolutionary this is.
What's the point of that, though?
It's more secure. It's decentralized. It's if you basically you have all your data on like a USB kind of stick, and you can then move from one blockchain phone to another without losing all your information, but it doesn't have to be on Google Mail or Hotmail or something like that is being spied on by the British government. So the first voice over blockchain phone is being launched in March, but that somebody can, if you're interested, you can come and talk to me about that. I won't divert the conversation, but basically up until a year or so ago, all cryptocurrency was literally a digital transfer. So it's, the number 100 transferred to somebody else saying 100.
Right.
So it's literally it's digital.
An online transfer, much like a bank transfer in that sense.
Exactly, right? So it's just literally digits transferring from one person to another.
Right.
And of course, what that means is there's no physical asset behind it. So, for example, with Bitcoin last year, Bitcoin hit its peak at $20,000 per coin. But by the end of the year, it would drop back down to $4,000 a coin. So it's very unstable, and there's no physical asset behind it.
Yeah.
So
some of these exchanges just seem to go down as well, and then people just lose all their Bitcoin. I don't know whether they eventually get it back.
Well, if you have to wait for the market to go back up again, or you have to make a choice to.
No, I mean they totally go down. I've heard, Jane. They just completely, there's nothing there. There's kind of, I don't know, the servers blew up or something.
Well, it's a bubble, isn't it? Because basically there's nothing behind it. So what happened in March or April last year is that people had loads and loads and loads of Bitcoin, and all of a sudden they just sold them, and the price of the coin just fell down because everybody had sold their coins because it had hit such a high rate. Now, what happened last year is that a new gold-backed crypto coin was launched.
Oh, yeah.
And so basically it's backed by physical gold and 24 karat gold. So it's pure gold. It's not like like 9 or 18 karat jewelry. It's mixed with softer, harder, cheaper metals.
Right.
So the new gold-backed crypto coin is backed by 24 karat gold, and that's called KBC. So it's carat gold coin.
Right.
And so basically,
it's not backed by Kentucky Fried Chicken. Sorry.
No, that's right.
No, good.
or pieces of paper.
Right.
So basically, it can never go back down to zero because once it's risen to a gram of gold per coin, because that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to be 1 gram of gold per coin, and they predict that that's going to happen by 2024. So basically, it's selling at 2 pence, 2.5 pence at the moment, and then each year, as the price rises, once it hits 1 gram of gold per coin, then they'll hold it at that, and it's called a stable coin. So it's not like Bitcoin that can go up and down, up and down, up and down very erratically. Because it's pegged to the price of gold, it will rise to the same volume of gold and then be stable once it's there.
You sound quite enthusiastic about that. Have you bought some of that?
I have. I'm not going to tell a lie. I have, because once I found, Ollie, honestly, once I found out what on earth was going on, I've bought gold and silver as well, because once you understand,
isn't silver undervalued compared to gold?
It is, yes. I mean, a gram of silver at the moment is something like £12. So, whereas an ounce of gold at the moment is, a gram of gold at the moment is £32. So
Right.
it's about half the price.
And
roughly.
it's about 60 quid for a gram of cocaine. I
Yeah.
don't know. You could go into drug dealing instead. I guess that's another way for a pension. The Bradbury pound is the other solution, isn't it? That kind of thing. For us. I mean, coming back to the kind of how to have a proper economy.
Right. Well, I've looked into the Bradbury pound, and I understand completely why Bradbury pound supporters love the idea, because the difference is that basically instead of our currency being printed by the Bank of England, it would basically be distributed directly from the government without interest. So if the government borrows well, they wouldn't even need to borrow, would they? They would literally produce £1 million and not pay any interest on it. And that's part of our problem at the moment, because we're paying millions per second in interest, just in interest. And if you think about this, right, all that the Bank of England does when the government borrows money from it is they print a piece of paper that's called a government bond. So if, say, for example, the British government borrows £100 billion, the Bank of England produces one document that says £100 billion. That's it. Why? But it doesn't cost the Bank of England £100 billion, and yet we pay that £100 billion back plus interest. So I understand where people are coming from with the Bradbury pound, i.e. that it would eradicate the interest that gets paid on that money. Personally, from my personal point of view, I would prefer a gold standard, because once there is a global gold standard, it means that potentially it's much harder for, say, for example, a central bank to then just get involved in it, and whereas the Bradbury pound, once a central bank gets involved, they can just literally stop the Bradbury pound from being printed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it's much harder to stop a gold standard. And that's why it took from, after the Second World War to 1971 for that gold standard to stop, because there's much more that needs to be put in place, and regulations and policies and everything, legislation to come into force to then stop that. Whereas, if a government prints a Bradbury pound, or something similar that says basically we're going to print our own money from now on and eradicate the central bank's job. But you could have a dictator come into power and just go, no, right, I'm getting paid by the bankers. Out goes our interest-free money.
Okay.
And that's the problem.
Right. With the ECB, again, as another aside, how much have they printed, this quantitative easing business? How much have they printed out of thin air?
Trillions. trillions. And
It
the
is, isn't
thing
it?
is that in 2014, the EU put regulations in place that this is actually very important for people to listen to. In 2014, the EU put regulations in place for European banks to be bailed in. Now that's different from being
That's right.
bailed out
That's
by
right.
the taxpayer.
Yes.
Right?
Please explain
So-
the difference.
Right. So when a bank falls and goes bankrupt, the taxpayers, as we know with Lloyds and RBS, they bailed them out. So basically the government borrowed money to bail out the particular bank,
Yeah.
and then we as taxpayers then had to pay that money back.
That's right.
Until
He still got his
until the
bonus,
bank
didn't he?
recovered.
That bloke at RBS, he still got his big bonus and all that. Aye.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Carry
Yeah.
on, please.
And Gordon Brown did a deal with with Lloyds, who did a deal on behalf of the whole banking industry in the UK, that if the banks protected MPs from going bankrupt, the government would protect the criminal bankers.
What if they, hold on, sorry, if they would cover specifically MPs?
Yeah. Yeah.
Please repeat that. Please repeat that.
Right. It was revealed last year by a whistleblower within Lloyds that basically Gordon Brown's government did a deal with Lloyds Bank on behalf of the whole UK banking industry that if the government stopped the criminal bankers from going to jail, the banks would make sure that all sitting MPs would not be bankrupt.
Whoa. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. How did you know that? Did you know that?
Me?
Yeah, no, everybody. That's an incredible thing, isn't it? That's an incredible thing. That's
Yeah.
Fascism right there.
Oh yeah, as well as signing the Lisbon Treaty.
As well as signing the Lisbon. Yeah, that's right. And just to finish, just to flesh out, in case anybody wondered what that reference was about Gordon Brown, he sold our gold, didn't he? Dirt cheap.
Yep.
Bottom line, he
Yep.
sold it when it was what, about 280 quid or something on the ounce or something, and now he says,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, and
it was a bargain basement. It was like buying a gold from Argos. and he sold it to who? Who got that cheap price?
Other countries, banks, you name it, whoever bought it. I believe that it was something to do with bailing out JP Morgan or something.
That's right. That was the story.
I haven't been able to find the exact information, but I do believe that it was to support a bank that was failing during the 2000 .com bubble when it crashed.
Right. Yeah, okay. That was going to be a calamity as well, wasn't it? Y2K. Everything was going to go down, and it was all an absolute nightmare. And that basically completely, that's like, Project Fear reminds me of Y2K. Jane Finch, if people do want to buy some gold from you, thank you so much.
Just 1 second.
Go on.
Sorry, Ollie, just 1 second. Can I just finish off about the bail-ins?
Yes, please. Yes.
So
okay.
Whereas a bailout is where the taxpayers fund the bailout, a bail-in is where the banks can legally take money from their own customers' accounts.
Yeah, straight out.
Right? So, for example, if any of you had been banking with RBS or Lloyds or Northern Rock or whatever, instead of being the money being spread across the country by taxpayers, if, for example, NatWest or HSBC or Barclays fall during the next recession, the bank could literally take money out of your own personal account to save themselves first.
They did that in Cyprus, didn't they?
That's right. It was a test run.
The Cypriot government said, no, we will not do that. And as I understand it, the EU then overruled them and said, yes, you will.
That's right. And then the following year, that was in 2013, the following year in 2014, the EU put regulations in place that all European banks would then have to be bailed in.
That's right.
When they fall.
As I recall, the EU finance minister or whatever at the time, he said that this was a template. And then within a couple of days, they backtracked and said it wasn't, but then they put it into legislation as a template anyway. Okay, Jane, look, everybody watching this show, we are wanting to leave the EU. We're poor. We're not morons, yeah. We've got loads of money from Blair and Soros and all the rest of it. We're all poor. We're not going to be afforded any gold from you, but you have been absolutely wonderful. And where can people, if they do want to find out about buying some gold or what have you, where can they look?
Yeah, just come on, just find me. You tagged me in the link.
Yeah, you're
in the,
tagged on Facebook. You are anyway.
Yeah. So just come and find me, send me a message, and I'll help you all, because basically we need to make sure that we're not we want the EU to fall, but we need to protect ourselves as well.
Now hold on a sec though. Do you give them gold in the hand or do you give them a certificate? Because there's a big difference there, no?
Right, it's a physical gold, but it's like having a bank account. So basically, there's gold in your account. You can open a gold account, and you can order it to be delivered to you in physical 24-karat gold.
People should want it in person, no?
Sorry?
They should want it in person, no? That's important.
Right. They should. That's right. They should want it in person. I have both gold and silver physical, but also still there?
Yes.
But also you can leave it in your account, or you could buy gold-backed crypto, which of course is going to shoot up in price over the next 2 to 3 years.
So you trade that stuff too, right? Okay. Yes. Okay, and they can find you if they want to look on, if they're on YouTube or what have you. Have you got a website?
No, I don't have. I've got the information. There's a group actually called Cash Gold Money, so they can come and join the group. It's Cash Gold Money, right. And then there's loads of information in there about the devaluing money and why gold prices go up and all sorts of things. Just
one last question: how much physical gold is there actually on the face of the planet? Is it absolutely true that there is only a finite amount, or have they got a load that they just, I don't know, hidden under a mountain? I
personally believe they have a load. Can you imagine how much the Rothschilds have that they've not declared, right? Now, the company that I get the gold from, the gold is still in the ground. They've got a sole deal with 2 gold mines, one in Madagascar and one in Papua New Guinea, and they're making deals again with more gold mines around the world. But there's so much gold still in the ground that's just not been, dug up and refined and sold on. But I personally don't know the total amount. It's a hard question on me personally. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, but I know there's a lot. And I know that there's a lot of silver as well. And one of the things that, as the price of gold goes up, because it's at we're just over $1,300 an ounce at the moment, and they predict that during the next financial crash, it's going to hit the roof of over $5,000 an ounce. So once the gold price gets out of reach for the majority of people, the silver price will start shooting up as well, because it's that much cheaper.
Yes, sure. Well, Jane Finch, I hope you come on again, because you've been very eloquent, despite early telephony problems. Thank you very much indeed. God bless you. And let's have another chat again. And maybe, for example, we can talk about banks not giving gold or holding their, I don't know, which central Fort Knox and all that.
Well, they're trying to stop Italy from getting their gold.
Yeah.
The Bank of England has refused Venezuela their gold. So this is the new world order on steroids, right?
It is incredible. Let's do a show on that. We'll come back and have another chat.
New world order on steroids.
Jane, thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome. Aye. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Is it going to work? There you go. It's going to work. It's going to work. I don't know. What's going on with that? That's weird. There we go. That's better. This, out tune thing. I don't understand any of this stuff, really, Don't even know how to run the sound desk. I did buy some toothpaste earlier. I bought some toothpaste. £3. Do you like this? Stuart Bogey, this outro thing. I think. Stuart Bogey. Quite cool. Cheers, Stuart. Copyright free, Facebook. This has been Daily Brexit, and I probably still am Olly Connelly, and I'll see you on Monday with June Slater here. Yeah, June Slater, God bless her. Very, very popular in the community. Lovely woman. Yeah, that'll be Monday. It's kind of beer o'clock, and it's kind of almost the weekend, so have a lovely weekend, folks. Let's hope that they pack those boxes in the EU Parliament. Those cardboard boxes. I don't really know what else to say. What else can I say? You know, no Brexit, no here, not here, you know. Oh, I tell you got to laugh, haven't you? You got to laugh. I think that march could be quite cool. Yeah, it would be nice if all of the political parties got behind it. If it wasn't just like the Brexit party type thing. Brexiteers still need to show force in numbers of all these different disparate groups coming together. And I don't know, it seems to me a 13-day march or something from Sunderland to London. That could be really cool. A good way to basically, hopefully, I don't know, get some kind of media coverage that a lot of people are marching all the way down the country on the approach to what should be the delivery of democracy, but which of course won't be. And incidentally, Mark Steele, who has been exposing 5G, according to his version of events at least, and very fascinating last night, he is going to be having his trial the day before Brexit. Yeah, the day before. So not the 29th, but the 28th. So in other words, they're going to bury that news as much as they can. Anyway, that's it. Ciao. Here's to us and bugger plutocracy. And I'll see you next week. God bless you. Ciao. Thanks.